Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to all the audience today present here at the room. Thank you also to my speakers today. Thank you to the hundreds that are on streaming watching us. So thank you very much. Today we are going to talk about how to finance new climate technologies, and the approach is going to be an approach to the innovative and technological clean ecosystem, so clean tech, okay? Different actors of a clean tech ecosystem, particularly Spanish one, but some, also with an approach of talking about international ecosystem abroad. So many of the ideas of the different sessions today and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow are focused on the environmental challenges and the climate change fight and how important it is, and how innovation is important and how finance is important. So for the approach of this panel, for innovation, we consider that we need startups. We need cutting-edge technologies. We need new climate technologies. We need emerging technologies, so startups. We also need finance, and financing. The first approach, when we talk about financing in the clean tech ecosystem, we have to talk about venture capital funds. Okay, they are the funds. Venture capital funds are the oil of the clean tech ecosystem. But any technological ecosystem, particularly the clean tech, is not only about startups and funds. There are many other actors, and that's how we work at ICEX. So I'm director for entrepreneurship at the Spanish Trade and Investment Promotion Agency, and we work for business international cooperation for all the Spanish actors of the technological ecosystem, particularly clean tech. That's why we have today a representatives of different actors of the clean tech ecosystem, not only one startup and one fund. We also have one corporate, we have also one accelerator, and we have also, that is very important, a representative of the public sector, because it's another important and relevant actor in any technological ecosystem, particularly clean tech. So the representatives of the different actors are Ignacio Sánchez, Deputy Director at the the Spanish Office for Climate Change, Oficina Española de Cambio Climático. We have also Orson Acosta, that is the CEO of the Azoya Project startup, Spanish startup. Gabriel Cuervo, who is the Director for Innovation at SACIR. We have Fernando Casado, who is the founder and partner of Inclimo, the fund Inclimo. And finally, Maria Macé, who is the Deputy Director of the Impact Accelerator Ship2B Foundation. I will give to the five actors of the ecosystem that we have with us today 2-3 minutes for a particular introduction by themselves regarding who they are and what entities are they representing here today. We start with Ignacio, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, ICEX, for organizing this panel and inviting me here. So my name is Ignacio Sánchez García. I'm Deputy Director of the Spanish Climate Change Office, which is a unit within the Ministry for Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge. And so our area of work is mainly carbon markets, but very much related to innovation, because as I think we are going to see, really innovation and clean tech is really key to succeed in the targets that we have set for ourselves. So I think that for the moment that's it. Okay.
Thank you, Ignacio. Orson.
Thank you. So I'm Orson Acosta, CEO of Azoya Projects. My background, I have studied biology, but I also have a background on the activism world. And well, at Azoya Projects, we define as the nature tech. It includes the climate tech, but it goes beyond carbon, that funds and facilitates the transition to a regenerative farming model. We do it by applying new technologies to monitor the carbon capture. We are in the process of developing a device that will allow the precise monitorization of the carbon capture, but being precise. And also we have developed our own certification scheme aligned with the new requirements of Europe. And with that, we can pay farmers for the carbon capture they do and for all the other positive impacts, boosting the biodiversity, the water footprint, and others. And we can offer to organizations or corporates a way to become carbon neutral and also to be nature positive for their non-financial reports. And well, I will stop here.
Thank you, Orson. Gabriel, please.
Yes, hi everybody. So my name is Gabriel Cuervo. I am the Innovation Director of SACIR. It's a privilege for me to be here and to learn from my partners and to share with all of you, my experience in the sector in the last 25 years, where I see, that the companies have moved from the construction poor companies to infrastructure developers. Okay, what I have seen is that the type of the infrastructure that we have been developing because of the demand of our clients and the demands of our users, ourselves, as our users, have been changing in the last 20 years. We have incorporated digitalization, new methodologies, new tools, and in the last 10 years, we have seen a movement, in order to incorporate the sustainability dimension in the infrastructure. Okay. So really glad to share with all of you, these inputs. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Fernando, please.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Fernando Casado, and I'm the co-founder and general partner of a climate tech fund called Inclimo, which actually I'm very happy because it was launched today. It came out published in the press today. And it's a very big coincidence that we're talking about climate finance in a day like that. Inclimo Climate Tech, it's a fund based in Barcelona. It's a 40 million euro fund which aims to invest in companies that have to the process of decarbonization. We invest in Series C and Series A, tickets between 100 and 1 million, 1.5 million, in the areas of PropTech, food and agrotech, circular economy, mobility, and I'm missing one that I will tell you in short.
Infrastructure?
Agritech.
Agritech, míralo, agritech. A lot of sectors, but only we're a little sector agnostic. We look at companies that really can create system disruption in terms of helping achieve the Paris Agreement and reduce CO2 emissions and the decarbonization effects.
Thank you, Fernando. Maria?
Thank you so much, Chema. My name is Maria Masso. I am the Deputy CEO at the Ship2Be Foundation. Ship2Be Foundation was born 10 years ago in Spain, and our main objective at that point was to launch an impact accelerator. Our mission as a foundation, as a non-profit, is to work for the impact economy, understanding impact like the triple rentability, financial, social, and environmental. To do so, we have three different sectors, or three different big verticals. The first one is our accelerator programs. We are #1 in tech for climate and health and care in Spain. Then our second sector is investment. We launched our first mini fund 7 years ago, a fund that is completely deployed, and it's 4 million fund. And then 3 years ago, we had our spin-off for a venture capital that it's 55 millions that we are still deploying. The venture capital is investing on tech for climate or climate change and education and health and care. And then our third vertical inside of the foundation is corporations. We work close to corporations to ensure that they can develop open innovation, focusing on impact, focusing on these three verticals: social, environmental, and rentability, financial rentability. And we work with them as well to support them to define the impact strategy in order that that can be part of their core business as well.
Thank you, Maria. So I would like to start the questions to the speakers with my colleague at the public sector, with Ignacio. And some of the other speakers were already talking about decarbonization. Decarbonization is in the roadmap, but we would like to know how clean tech is in the roadmap of the decarbonization, and what is needed for a better implementation of the clean tech in this roadmap of the decarbonization.
Okay. Yes, so maybe to start, let me say a few words about the situation in which we are currently in terms of climate change. I think that most of you already know, but it is always relevant, and also I think it is very, very important so that it is possible to highlight properly the role of clean tech in the process we are addressing. So you know that this year is there is a noise, or it is only me?
It's okay.
Okay. So I was saying that this year is really special because this year is the global stocktake. This is a process in the UN negotiations in which parties are going to take stock of the achievements that we have already obtained and to see what really are the situation in terms of mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions and also in terms of adaptation to some extent. So what we are seeing, this process is ongoing. We don't know what's going to be the result, of course, but what we are already seeing at what the I4C, for instance, is already saying is that this window of opportunity to reach our targets under the Paris Agreement is rapidly closing, so that there is an urgent need to accelerate mitigation. And you know that, in fact, many parties already, many nations have already committed to reach net zero in 2050, but still action has already started, but has to be accelerated now so that it is possible to reach net zero in 2050 or before if possible. So I think that this situation highlights how important it is to really accelerate mitigation, as I was saying, and that the challenge is so huge that it is really impossible to succeed without really accelerating clean tech. And it is true that it is not the only thing that we need to reach these net zero targets, but it has to have a really crucial role, and it is really impossible to get there without clean tech being developed at a speed that I think we haven't seen in the past. Maybe in the case of mobile phones or something like that, I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but really we do need clean development. And just maybe to finish that intervention, I wanted just to highlight that from our point of view, which is mainly the point of view of the demand side of clean tech. We think it's important to differentiate between the research and development, of course, demonstration and deployment. And in some cases, we already have the technologies that we need to get to our targets for 2030. Maybe they are there, but maybe they are still very expensive. But for 2050, we need technologies that don't exist. So really, it is very important to be right in setting the ecosystem, as you were saying, for startups and then for demonstration, also for deployment of technologies.
Thank you, Ignacio. So the public sector, in some sense, they put the rules for the framework, and then the private sectors, they move in the framework, and they look for the opportunities. It looks like, I'm sure, we are sure that there are opportunities for clean tech in the very close future, but because there is a demand, there is a need, there is an interest, there is even something sentimental, if I can say that. But it's also true, and I just jump into Orson, that to be an entrepreneur, in a technological, innovative entrepreneur in the sector, I'm sure that it's not easy. I think that is a heavy regulated sector. The entry costs are also high. So I'm sure it's difficult. So I would like to know more about your experience as an entrepreneur. We are lucky because we have you here today with us. So you are the real technology in this panel, and I would like to know your experience on that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here and to have this opportunity. Well, I think technology is key for sure, and more in one sector like it's the clean tech sector, no? Because we, as as you said, we really need to increase the velocity and the Windows opportunity. It's closing really fast. But in my opinion, we really need to focus on the solutions that deliver more impacts. No, we have to mitigate, but we have also to adaptate to climate change. And there are some, in my opinion, some really technological solutions that need a lot of money to be developed, and that they don't ensure this fast adaptation. And well, I like more what it's called in the sector the nature-based solutions, no? Because in these cases you use the technology to boost the natural processes that delivers a lot of positive impacts, no? It's not true that you have to choose between mitigate or adaptate. I think, and the pandemic have shown us that the importance of some essential sectors, and a lot of people turn to the impact investment, no, because it shows us that we are vulnerable as a society, no. So I think that it's important to use the technology to work with nature and to ensure mitigation, adaptation, and also to have a more holistic approach.
I have an additional question for you in this round.
Sure.
Sorry.
No.
That is sometimes when I met with entrepreneurs, they complain that when they are explaining the technology or the idea or the pilot to a fund, they complain that the fund doesn't understand me, or sometimes they don't want to understand me. But it sometimes happens in some sectors. In my experience with Spain, and then when we move to another country, then they understand the startup when they are explaining. My particular question for you is that in Spain, when you are presenting technologies on clean tech, what is the perception by a fund, by a Spanish fund? Because I think that for clean tech, there is a kind of positive externality that is difficult to value in the short term, like social externality that is difficult to value. How funds are receiving you when you go to meet them?
So in my experience, for me, there is a big difference between impact VCs that are already focused on these impact startups that understand that the return it requires more time, but that it's more sure, and that they are not looking per 10 in their inversion in 3 years. No, for me it's a big difference between these two kinds. No, more generalistic VCs or investors and more impact-focused VCs, and even it's more different when you talk to one VC that it's more focused on clean tech. Because, for example, in our case, when we speak about the carbon markets, there is a lot of people that still, without understanding what's that. You are selling 1 ton of CO2, but they don't understand. And if you merge the carbon markets with regenerative agriculture, it blows their mind, you know. So yes, here in Spain, I'm happy because there are funds that are emerging, like in Climo, no. But yes, we have seen more VCs from the US or from the northern countries that they are more used to these kind of companies. Yes, there is a difference. So we need to keep pushing and explaining very good these external positive impacts that you have talked.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Son. Gabriel, I found very interesting when you were talking at the beginning from construction to infrastructure. So you were already answering part of the question, but I would like to know, and you to share with the audience, about the role of a corporate, no, in an ecosystem. You are the director of innovation. I don't know how it works, but innovation, it can be inside the company, it can be outside the company, open innovation. So if you can share about how a corporate approach to startups to carrying these technologies, particularly in clean tech, and so corporates in general, and particularly SACIR, do you invest? Do you propose challenges? Do you collaborate in a commercial agreement with the startups? How the corporate sector works on those particular ecosystem and how SACIR particularly works, please.
Okay, good. So first about the corporate role in the ecosystem. I think that, or as I like to see the ecosystem is like corporate is another type of player. Okay, so we are not more relevant, than the VCs or the accelerators or the startups or even the public sector. We are another player. And we have to be fully coordinated, and each of us has to add value to the other partners, okay, in order to work properly. Okay. Having said that, in SACIR we have the open innovation model. Okay. We think that not just the smartest people, are part of our group. Okay. So we try to find, the intelligent outside of the company to complement that intelligence. In that way, we collaborate with partners like this, okay, with partners like this, and we are really successful, in working in this way, okay, as well with collaborating with other corporates. We are moving from large programs to short-term programs, okay. We are moving from programs that last for some months, where we publish some specific challenges and we try to find out the right partner to solve the challenge, a university, a startup, another corporate, that it takes some time. But we have identified some key aspects in running shorter programs. When we have a specific challenge, okay, we focus our organization, my team, in trying to identify what is going to be the best partner, or at least the best identified partner, to start piloting and working with the operation side and trying to add some value, okay, to start some value for our company and to know, okay, perhaps to understand much better, what are the solutions that the startups are bringing to us, but trying to prototype and try to make a MVP very, very soon, okay? And specifically for clean tech, what we are seeing is, if you compare with other areas of innovation where we are leading, is that the time for prototyping and develop MVPs are larger, and the cost of developing those processes are larger as well than for other sectors. So for this, I think that working with the public administration, establishing public-private joint ventures, let me say in this way, is essential in order to reduce the cost and the time, and as well to identify where we can pilot the solution. You talk about the regulation. Okay, sometimes the regulation is a barrier that is there. Sometimes it's good that the barrier is there. Other times it's stopping, okay, the innovation. Depending on the country, depending on the administration, depending on the partner, a startup or a university, things are easy to track or less. Okay, but I have to say that for the clean tech sector, there are emerging, I wouldn't say a bubble, okay, but it's an emerging trend, okay, and when we share with our ecosystem challenge in the construction tech, in the sustainability infra dimension, we receive a lot of responses, a lot of answers to collaborate with us. So we think that it's an area where making innovation has some drawbacks, but as well some pros.
And do you propose this potential collaboration only with Spanish technology startups, or it is born as global, and then you open this course and potential collaboration with foreign startups, with which countries, or what is the strategy on that?
So as SACIR, we are currently present, yesterday we were in 22 countries. No, I'm not sure today, perhaps in 21, 23, okay? But we try to collaborate worldwide. But I have to admit that in the countries where we have operations and contracts, it's easier to access to the ecosystem and to collaborate. Anyway, collaborating with entities like the C2B Foundation, facilitate us the access to the ecosystem where we are not present. Okay, but of course, if we want to be global leaders, okay, we have to think globally.
I think you were pointing out something important that I learned, and I'm learning more today, is that you have said just now that for a innovation department, it's important what a commercial department is doing, in the sense that you may be following the countries in which your commercial department is working. I think on the other way around, it's also very, very important for your commercial department if you are supporting them with a technological and innovative approach to some countries, to some clients. It gives you to your department commercial more points for winning the tenders or for winning contracts or whatever. I think it's something important for both departments.
Yes, of course. The push and pull, the methodology or way of working is essential. And collaborating with partners like this, facilitates us not just to be follower of, let me say, of the operation department or marketing department or business development department, but as well to offer, new opportunities. Okay. What is happening is sometimes, when you bring, a startup that has let me say, a product or an offering that they have never heard, they need some time in order to understand. They need, and my team need as well, some time to understand what is the offering, how to collaborate, and that's it. But yes, of course, business development, operation, innovation, sustainability have to work all together in order to be more, to offer better services and infrastructures.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. Fernando, let me start by saying that it was not a coincidence.
Yeah.
We knew it. We knew that Inclimo was going to be registered today, and that's why we have the panel today and not tomorrow. Okay. So,
thank you.
Let me ask you about how a fund in clean tech, and particularly a new fund, how you were explaining a bit at the beginning, but how do you work? How is the criteria of investment for a fund in clean tech is different to other ones? Do you now are thinking in how do you work in terms of potential co-investment with foreign funds? Are you open only to Spanish startups or to foreign startups? I would like to know a lot. It is said that the average tickets of the Spanish funds, on average, general sectors, it's quite low in Spain. That is something that it will be good to increase. That's what we need foreign funds to come to co-invest. No? How is the average ticket in the clean tech sector? So all these questions, you can answer at least some of them, please, Fernando.
Okay. I will try to structure the answer.
Sorry. Sorry.
First, I think that the climate tech, clean tech funds work in a very similar way to other funds. The only thing, we have KPIs, indicators that measure not only the economic growth, the economic potential of the profitability we would generate, but also our impact on decarbonization, climate, CO2 reduction, in our case, greenhouse gas emission reduction, companies that can prove from a quantitative perspective that they're contributing to reduce the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Therefore, when we look for companies where to invest, we have a double-edged sword. Are they going to be profitable? Because our investors expect that, and if they're not profitable, we will not invest in them. And are they going to generate the impact that we expect from them? So in our case, what we look for from a wish list perspective is to invest in gigacorns. Gigacorns are not unicorns, are companies that can reduce 1 gigaton of CO2 per year, which is huge. And there's many climate tech company funds in Europe that have that as a goal. Personally, Inclimo does not have that as a quantitative requirement because I think it's a little speculative in order to quantify. And I've been listening to a lot of the sessions today and a very interesting debate about quantifying emissions. No? We're very focused on how to do that. But we do invest in companies that have this disruptive change, this disruptive approach on reducing CO2. That's how we select. In terms of comparison analysis with Europe, it's a very good question. And I will make one step forward to answer it. I think today we're living in a golden age for climate and clean tech. We never, ever had so much money, so much technology available, artificial intelligence, blockchains, 5G, to really create disruption change. So much talent. Today, young people, very, very prepared. They don't want to go to multinationals, sorry, not all of them, but, or the government, which was before, but a lot of them, they want to create their own company with impact. We see a lot of talent investing their time in generating their own company. And we have finally, I've been working more than 2 decades for the sustainability sector, the regulatory framework as a wind tail behind us. Today, regulation and policy frameworks are extremely helpful, and public institutions are extremely helpful. Our fund, 49% comes from public institutions, from ELICO. So it's a golden age. Within this golden age, in Europe, it's a double golden age. Clean tech, climate tech within the venture capital fund, regardless of the war, regardless of the energy crisis, it's been growing every year from 2021, which was the year that had all the records of investment in climate tech, to 2022 with the crisis. We've increased 20% of investments for climate tech. We're now at 81 billion US dollars on climate tech investment, which is huge. And the percentage of VC in climate tech with overall VC has also increased. 30% of climate tech, of overall global VC is climate tech. Of the 10 biggest investment rounds last year, 5 were climate tech, climate clean tech. So I think it's a great moment. Is that positive? I don't know. Why? I don't know. That means there's a lot of capital available. But we have a huge, huge challenge. And when you ask me this question on how we work, we of course work on a partnership framework. I think the old style of winner take it all is obsolete. Today we work a lot with Ship2B, a lot with all the investors, a lot with corporate incubators that are investing in companies. We share risks to invest together, and that has changed a lot for us and for the entrepreneurs, because they don't deal with one investor, they deal with many. And all that, I think it's positive. However, to put some critical analysis here, I think that one thing that we don't see, regardless of this golden age, is the acknowledgement that we are in a climate emergency. We have products, we have services, and we have capital that could respond to certain degrees to the time we're living. I don't think the markets are following. I think citizenship are not understanding green premium. I think people are not enhancing that enough, and I think we need to work closer together to change the system. The last thing we want, our main objective as a fund, is not only to create money and reduce CO2s, is to create disruptive change, to create better societies. And I think finding companies that contribute to that is a challenge, because maybe we're a little delayed in acknowledging the degree of the climate emergency. And we don't feel that is being acknowledged properly.
Thank you, Fernando. Very interesting. Now we move to Maria. Maria, I have to tell you that among all these different entities, I think yours is the most interesting, because they can meet one to each other, I don't know, in a networking event or whatever, but your work is too much.
Exactly.
The startups with the corporates, the startups with the funds, the startups with the public sector. So you are matching the actors, no? And I also have a good experience when I was working abroad, particularly in Singapore, with an entity similar to yours, but in another sector. That for me was very interesting how this entity was approaching the Economic and Commercial Office of Spain in Singapore. We have 100 Economic and Commercial Offices of ICEX all around the world, because they wanted to enter into the Singaporean ecosystem. And for me, it was very interesting the evolution of the entity that was talking to me. At the beginning, it was a kind of consultancy company, but the evolution, they create an international network, and they jump to an accelerator, incubator, and then they also were creating in that moment a small venture capital fund. Mm-hmm. So they had like everything, but at the end of the day, they wanted to match. Okay, so I want to ask you about this. How do you work with? You were explaining at the beginning a bit, but if you can extend your explanation about how do you work with corporates, with funds. I'm very interested in the impact role, and how important are these international accelerator programs also for you and for the whole ecosystem itself.
Yeah, sure. So I think that you are completely right, and you get the point. So as an accelerator, we name ourselves not as accelerators, but as ecosystem builders, right? So as an ecosystem builder, our main role is to bring everybody to the table to ensure that innovation is possible. And everybody is the startup, is the public sector, is the corporation, and it's the capital. And we don't care too much if the capital is public or private, but everyone has to be in the table. And that is our role as ecosystem builder. And when we were born 10 years ago, we were local, and we understood the ecosystem as a local ecosystem and local thinking in Spain. But already 5 years ago, we realized that in some markets, locals is not possible, and clean tech is one of them. So clean tech, one of the big challenges that clean tech has is the globalization. So you cannot think in clean tech and think in a local ecosystem. You need to compete against the global market, and you need to be collaborating with the global market. And because of that, the accelerator or the ecosystem builders, we need to be globals as well, and have these collaborations with BC International, with corporations international, and with anyone that needs to be involved in the acceleration of the startup. And answering your question about what is the difference or the difference between sectors as well, right? So when I am thinking in sectors like education, or when I am thinking in health and care, those sectors, I think that Ignacio was mentioning, regulation, it's important. In clean tech, regulation is changing a lot. In other sectors, it's much more stable. And because it's changing a lot, we need to have a view on the global part, but we need to think in the local part as well, because the local regulation will affect our startups. And us, as an accelerator, we need to keep that in mind. We need to keep in mind as well all the corporations and the requirement that the end customer will have, right? And more when it's B2B, we have some requirements, but when it's B2C, I think that you were mentioning that the market sometimes is not ready for that solution that we have in clean tech. And that can be an end point for a startup, right? So maybe we have the technology, maybe we have the solution, and the problem is there, but maybe our market is not there. And as a role as accelerator or as an ecosystem builder is to be sure that our startups are checking that with our corporation, are checking it with the market, to be sure that they raise capital at the moment that they need to raise, and they escalate at the time that they need to escalate in order that the market is ready for them. So that is part of our role as this ecosystem builder that we play at Ship2B.
I have an additional question for you, Maria. We at IFEX, we have a START program that is called Desafía, that we create with local partners in the most referenced international ecosystem. We create 2 weeks immersion program for them with some training before for oral communication for the startups, pitching and other training issues at the beginning. So we go 2 weeks to Tel Aviv, to San Francisco, to London, particularly for clean tech. But we need to build the post-immersion program. And I really think that all your work that we are doing with impact, not talking about you, about impact, I think it's important for a startup that we help to internationalize those startups. Once they come after these 2 weeks immersion program, that they change a lot during these 2 weeks. So a training or whatever we call it on impact will be very important for the startups that are starting, more than starting in internationalization.
Completely agree with you, and I think that impact is one of the languages that are international, right? And also I think it was mentioning it, that when you are going to raise capital from an impact VC, they will understand you better. So if we teach our startups how to manage their impact, if we teach them how to talk the same language that the VCs are talking, the impact VCs are talking, they will have a better outcome. And it's not just that. Our intention from Ship2B is that the ecosystem, the corporates, the startups, the VCs will be managing through impact, not because of impact, right? And the difference is that impact should be our main focus, and that impact should be giving us the financial return. And that it's supported by the law as well. So right now we have the Article 8 and 9 that is defining that the VCs, they need to go from one to the other one, or to the other one. They need to decide which one they are going to do. So that is something that the European Commission is going to ask us in the future, right? So having this follow-up for the Desafío startups and helping them to define in which part and report their impact properly will help them in the future to escalate better.
Thank you so much, Maria. Let's come back now to Ignacio, because I would like to know information that you are the only one who knows that in this panel. I would like to talk about Europe, that they are reinforcing technology innovation with new tools. Please, could you share with the audience, with the panelists, the new tools that are coming from the European Union?
Okay, thank you. So maybe here the first thing to say is that I also think that there is a lot of money around, and also a lot of public money, actually, I think, at this moment, I mean, for clean tech. So maybe one first problem is how to navigate around the different programs at EU level, but also maybe at national level with the recovery and resilience plan. So this is maybe a problem. But what I would like to explain is a bit about a couple of initiatives that are coming up at the EU level. Well, one of them is already working, but I don't know if it is well known yet, but I'm talking about the Innovation Fund. The Innovation Fund is an instrument to promote a demonstration of decarbonization technologies. It's going to work at least up to 2030, but it will provide grants and other ways of public support. Around maybe 40 billion euros, so it is significant. And it works mainly in 4 areas up to now, which are innovative renewables, energy storage, industrial decarbonization, and also carbon capture and storage. So I think this is also something that it is important for the people around to know. Where does this money come from? I think that's also relevant because it is related to another issue which I think is important, is how to create markets for these clean products, which in general at the moment are more expensive. So we had to find a way so that at least there is a level playing field and those products can really compete with the traditional ones which are responsible for the pollution. So this money comes from carbon markets, the compliance carbon markets, in particular from the EU ETS. And I think that it is important to acknowledge that these kind of instruments are also important in terms of promoting innovation and the development of clean technologies. And another instrument, new instrument that I hope at least that can help to create those markets for clean products is the CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. I think that maybe we don't have time now to enter into the details, but this is just an instrument which is also based on putting a price on carbon, but for products that are imported to the EU. I think that with time, this is also going to help in creating those markets that are needed for clean products. And maybe just to finish, it is also relevant to say that, for instance, now in the EU there is a new regulation on certification of removals that it can also be very helpful, I think, to create at least this framework in this any actor can recognize or be confident that certain removals that have this label have a good quality and can be acquired without being subject to any risk or in reputation, for instance, let's say.
Thank you, Ignacio. And finally, from European support, European financing to multilateral support or multilateral financing. This is an event organized by Spain, by Germany, and the World Bank. So I would like to finish talking about multilateral collaboration. So I would like to ask to the other 4 members of the panel about because the World Bank is not only the public window, the private window. They work with venture capital funds. They move startups. They are raising up startups. So and we know in which countries they are working. No? So what are from the perspective of a startup, of a corporate, of a venture capital, and from a ecosystem builder? Just in 1 or 2 minutes, the last message, but linked to the potential collaboration with multilateral entities.
Yeah, well, I think it's really important. Right now, we, as Maria said, we need to learn how to collaborate more than compete. It's important to collaborate because we all need that the climate still in a navigable French. So it's important. I think this multilateral finance, it's really interesting and important, and it's a good way to really align all the interest, because at the end we have different interests and different strengths, and well, I really like this roundtable because I felt represented with each of the people that were talking. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Good. So I would say that financing from World Bank is working well, okay, but there are room for improvement, okay. And I would say like two areas, okay. First is that in order to, when we have a potential collaboration, okay, with a partner, and we need to test and to show the World Bank that this is going to work for the business, for the infrastructure development, that cost is high. And although the money is there available in the market, sometimes it's not so easy to capture the money in the short term. Okay, so that is one of the areas of improvement. And the second, I would say, is for large infrastructure projects, okay, as well the time for showing them, okay, what is the impact and the reduction of CO2 is long. Anyway, I think that is a source of financing really interesting for us that we have been using and that we will using in the future.
I'm a little biased because I come from a multilateral background and I've worked a lot with the UN, for the UN, and the World Bank has been like my client for a long time. But having said that, today as a fund, we work in all fronts. We are co-investing in certain investment rounds, and with IDB Invest, for example, they are co-investing with us, leading the rounds actually, and I think they're a very good investment partner because they understand impact very well. They can be clients of the companies we invest, and we're exploring how they can procure some of the solutions for better lighting, for better housing on their infrastructure projects with the conflict areas, or when the different collapses that they have with certain areas and they have to rebuild. And essentially also in knowledge generation. We have a lot of challenges in developing methodologies, tools on analyzing impact, the decarbonization effects, so we are co-sharing a lot of the challenges of addressing and using knowledge to become a better tool and become better investments with the ecosystem. So I think they're a very essential player, and they give us this supranational approach that help organize also countries from a geopolitical perspective, which is also very useful.
Thank you, Fernando. Maria?
Yes, I don't think I can add too much. I completely agree with my colleagues here. Maybe the only thing that I will add is that, as you know, I spent the last 10 years working and living in the States and working in the innovation ecosystem over there. And of all this collaboration, all this public and private capital, one of the things that I am missing in Europe is the eager to fail, right? In the States, they say that if you need to fail, fail quick. And here, sometimes we have some projects, some startups, some things that are living and living and living, and we are spending so much money and so much effort, public, private, everyone is working on that, just because we don't want to fail. And that is affecting the whole ecosystem, and it's affecting the whole economy. So maybe what I will ask is that these supreme roles will have more this role to push us to fail and to push us to fail quick in order that we can be more efficient and that we can grow faster.
Thank you,
more
Maria.
and recover fast, no?
Exactly.
Thank you.
I agree completely.
That is not easy. No?
That is not easy.
And I would like from ITHEX how we do collaborate with multilaterals in terms of building ecosystems. Just for sharing 2 or 3 ideas, sometimes we finance, but we always receive in Spain delegation of startups from Africa, from Latin America, that the multilateral entities are creating for trying to enter into the European market. So that's one way of collaboration. We also, the Spanish government, through the Ministry of Economy, is financing consultancy operations or technical assistances for training utilities in Latin America and in Africa in terms of creating well-structured and well-developed open innovation processes by the utilities in those continents. We are also expanding, but we also want to connect venture capital funds that are under the umbrella of the multilateral entities with the Spanish funds. And finally, we are introducing, and I think that other countries are also doing that. We are introducing the multilateral entities technologies that improve the infrastructure in water infrastructure, renewable energy infrastructure, railway infrastructure. So we propose technologies for the World Bank having new ideas to add to the projects that they want to develop, to finance in the countries where the clients of the World Bank are. With this, thank you very much to all my speakers. You were fantastic. And thank you to the audience here and on streaming. Thank you very much, and I hope that you enjoy the panel. Thank you so much.